Hello, this is Mateo from the San Diego Guitar Gym, and today I'm going to be showing you a very cool video how to practice changing chords. Alright, now a lot of beginning guitar players struggle with this immensely because well, chords are pretty hard, especially the open chords, because you got to put a bunch of fingers together and hope that they all kind of get in the right spot and land at the right times and it all sounds good, you know, when you put them all together. So we're just going to start at the top. I got 8 tips here that I'm going to show you. 8 tips, man, that's kind of a lot. And heck, I should have probably put this into 2 different videos, but you know, I think you can handle this. It's not too hard. Alright, it's going to really give you a lot of stuff to think about. So the very first one here is going to be 1-finger chords, okay? 1-finger chords. See, a lot of people start with 3 or 4-finger chord shapes, the full chord shapes from day one, and that's why most guitar players actually quit, is because it's too hard to put 3 or 4 fingers together all at the same time on your fretboard. So what you're gonna have to do is use 1-finger chords, or maximum of 2 fingers, alright? So one of these examples is, for example, the G chord. If you just put your finger right here on the 3rd fret, see that first dot, the 1st string, 3rd fret, and you just play the last 3 strings, 1, 2, 3, then that's a G chord, alright? And that's all you need to do to play a G chord. Right? It sounds really good. In fact, if you use 0 fingers and you just play the first 3 strings, or strings 1, 2, and 3, that's the E minor chord. Alright, so there's probably going to be like a little diagram or something down below where I'll show you a couple of these 1-finger chords, or the 0-finger chord. Alright, and for 2 fingers you could play A minor. You could also play a C chord with 1 finger, an A chord, an E chord. Alright, so there's plenty of different chords that you can play with just 1 or 2 fingers. And once you got those down, then you can start playing maybe the D chord with 3 fingers, or the C chord with 2 fingers, or you know, eventually you'll make it up to the big E major or the G. Alright, but the key is you got to start with 1 or 2 fingers first, rather than trying to start with all your fingers, okay? So that's the first tip that I have for you. Go ahead and spend some time on that. Now the next thing that I have here is bunny hops. Alright, bunny hops. It kind of goes like this, alright? If you're trying to learn how to make a chord shape, and you're trying to memorize, say, the C chord, for example, alright, and you're kind of struggling to get there, you know, trying to struggle to get there, what you want to do is do little tiny bunny hops. I'm actually going to stand up and show you what this means, okay? So here I've got the C chord, alright, and there's my fingers, alright, so I'm in position, and let's say if I pull my fingers away and I try to make it again, I don't really land in the right spot, you know, I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go, right? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make that C chord, and then we're going to do tiny little bunny hops, alright? We're going to go like up and down, just very, very small spaces, okay? Now notice, I'm not actually even squeezing right here. I'm literally just, this is actually technique number 6, is the feather touch. You can see down there, technique number 6, the feather touch. And I'm just basically barely touching against the strings. I'm just doing little tiny bunny hops up and down. I've done already about 20 of these, okay? So you go up and down really, really, really small bunny hops for about 20, 30, 50 times, and then you could start to maybe increase the distance that you're jumping away, okay? So you don't want to start with like big jumps like that, because you're not going to get anything out of that. You want to start with tiny little jumps like this. You can see I'm barely coming off, maybe like 2 or 3 millimeters, and then you make it into about like a centimeter, okay? And then maybe about an inch or something, and then all of a sudden now you're able to make this chord shape a lot easier, okay? So this is the second concept, is the bunny hops. When you're trying to learn a new chord, you want to start doing bunny hops. The next strategy is hover and hold, okay? And all these strategies just kind of work together, okay? So I'm just gonna have to go through all of them, and then later you can sort of come back, watch the video again, maybe 2 or 3 times, so you can understand how to implement all these strategies at the same time. So the hover and hold is kind of something like this, okay? Now here we've got the C chord, okay? I'm just gonna use this for an example for most of the time. All right, now what you're gonna want to do is most people, when they try to land, like, they can't really get all fingers down, so they're kind of like 1, 2, 3 type of thing. And so what happens is you don't really get that chord shape really ingrained in your fingers. Now see how I can sort of make that chord shape above, like, just like I can hold my fingers in the position of a C chord without even actually putting it down on the fretboard. I just know how it feels to play a C chord. So in order to get that to happen for you, you have to first make the C chord like this, and then hold your fingers above the strings, all right, and hover them above the strings. I'm going to try to get into a good angle here so you can see, like, that there's actually a space in between my fingers and the string, okay? Just hold and hover above the strings about a centimeter above, okay? And you just hold it there. Okay, and just see how long you can hold this position right here. And then, you know, you can pull it down, hold it up, hover it above the strings. So I'm not touching the strings, okay? And this is the hover and hold position. You can do this for all the chords. Here's the G chord. I'm not touching against the strings, all right? I'm just holding my fingers above the strings. This is the hover and hold strategy, all right? So that's number 3 right down there. The next concept is number 4, the finger permutations, all right? And for this, it's kind of similar to the one finger chords, okay? What you're gonna wanna do is, instead of using all your chord fingers to change chords and go from, you know, full chord shapes changing around, what you're gonna do is pick 2 fingers, all right? Now for this example, I'm gonna use these 2 fingers, okay? So we're gonna take a C chord, for example, okay? And I'm gonna take the first 2 fingers, and I'm also gonna go from a C to a G, okay? So I've got the first 2 fingers of the C, and then I'm going to use these 2 fingers only to change to a G chord. So that would be up here, all right? And you could just kind of switch back and forth between the C and the G with just those 2 fingers, all right? You could change to an A minor chord with just two fingers. Apparently it's the exact same, okay? Or an E major chord, and that would be over here. Okay, so you're going to use these 2 fingers only to change between chords, all right? Just these 2. All right, next I'm going to use 1 and 3 together, okay? So here's the 3 and here's the 1. I'm going to change from there to the C chord, okay? So, or the G chord, between the C and the G, and I've just got this weird range of motion that I'm doing. I'm not using all my fingers, just 2 of them, okay? So you want to know exactly where you land with all those fingers. All right, the next 2 I'm going to try is the middle 2 fingers, okay? So here I've got the C chord is like this, and the G chord would be like that. Okay, so I'm just sort of changing between these 2, and I'm only using 2 fingers in order to do this. And again, I'm not really even squeezing the strings that much. I'm using the feather touch, which is technique number 6, which I'll show you in just a moment. But the concept is, with finger permutations, is that you're just going to be using 2 fingers, and it could be any 2. It could be, you know, these 2. It could be these 2. It could be the middle 2. It could be these 2. All right, you just choose 2 fingers to permutate, and you switch between chords with those 2. All right, the next one is the I choose. All right, this sounds kind of funny, but it's basically a concept like this. All right, you're going to be making your chord shape. All right, this is A minor, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to up strum the chords, or down strum. I guess it doesn't matter. What you're going to do is you strum nothing, it's all zeros, and then you land on the chord. So you're going to go I chew, I chew. Right, I'm doing an up strum on the zeros and then a down strum on the chord, so it sounds like ah choo, all right? And that's a really good way to just kind of make sure that you're actually landing on all 4s. Most of these concepts that I've shown you so far involve the feather touch and landing on all 4s, okay? And sort of doing bunny hops, all right? So it all just kind of comes from these 2 strategies right here. So again, the achu is like this. Here's the C chord, here's the G chord. So you up strum the 0 and you strum down onto the chord with all fingers at the same time, okay? So the next strategy, I've been talking about this a couple of times, is the feather touch, right? So many people want to squeeze the chords super hard in order to make that sound come out, but honestly, it's not about how strong you are, it's about the position that you're using and the finger, like, technique, grip, and all that stuff. So what you want to do is just make sure that you can easily get into the grip by using the feather touch, all right? And you can just see, like, I'm not even squeezing, like, that's me squeezing so I can play the chord, but this is me not squeezing. Like, there shouldn't be any sound coming out if you squeeze, if you just use the feather touch, all right? I'll do it on the D chord so you could just kind of hear. the last 3 strings here that I'm just playing, I'm not squeezing. I just have my fingers placed on the strings. Alright, and I'm just making the shape, but I'm not squeezing. Hear me squeezing? Here I'm not squeezing. Alright, so that's the difference between the feather touch and the squeeze, alright? Obviously, you have to make the squeeze sound, but first, you want to make sure that you just play with the feather touch. Alright, you can easily just practice your chord changes with the feather touch without even having to squeeze anything, alright? And that's going to help you to maintain your physical stamina, alright? You don't want to get tired out, you don't want to hurt your fingers before you can actually practice anything. It's going to be like 5 minutes of practice and you're just going to get tired out. But if you just use the feather touch, you can practice for 30 minutes or an hour with this chord changing stuff and you're not going to get tired, you're not going to get hurt, okay? So the feather touch. And number 7 here is landing on all fours, alright? Just like if you were trying to land on your feet or a cat landing on all fours, you know, you have to land with all fingers, because if you don't, then you're just going to fall, right? You're not going to have that balance. So you don't want to put one finger down, the next finger down, the next finger down, and try to figure it out like that. Instead, you want to use the other strategies that I showed you here. For example, the bunny hops, for example, the hover and hold, and the finger permutations and the ah-choos. All these are basically making sure that you can land on all fours, land all your fingers at the same exact time, okay? So all these strategies work together in combination, and the very last one here that we have is the micro slow matrix speed. Alright, the micro slow matrix speed. A lot of people tend to want to move faster, even especially with changing chords. They're like, oh, I can make this chord real quick, you know, make this chord real quick, but then they don't know how to land on all fours, and the reason is because they don't go through this process. So I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to use a full chord shape here just so that we can have an example that's kind of hard. So I'm starting here with this D right here. I'll make an A minor chord, okay? So here I am on the A minor chord. I'm going to switch to a G, okay? So I'm going to use the micro slow matrix speed strategy. First, I'm going to lift up all my fingers. Next, in the air, watch this. I'm going to move my fingers incredibly slow towards the G chord, okay? So I'm now at the G chord. Now I'm also using the hover and hold strategy. I'm holding above the strings, and then I'm putting my fingers down onto the chord, okay? Now I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna lift up my fingers. Now watch how slow I'm moving, okay? Because I don't want any of my fingers doing weird things. I just want them to make the exact correct path straight from A to B to the next chord shape. Here I've hovered above the strings and now I'm putting them down, okay? Now again, I'm going to lift up. Watch how slow I'm moving. This is the speed that I want you to be moving in, okay? So don't go any faster than this. Here I'm holding above the strings, making sure that if I land down, all of them land at the same time. And above, one more time, we're going to move very, 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 very slowly, making sure my fingers aren't doing anything weird. And then I'm going to land right here onto the A. Again, hover and hold before I put the fingers down, okay? You're not going to go straight down as soon as you get there. You're going to lift up, move, and hover, 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 then down. So up, slowly, 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 slowly move, hover, 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 and down, all right? So that's a 3-step process. Up, move slowly, hover, and then down, okay? 4 steps. Up, move slowly, hover, and down, all right? So those are the 4 steps that you're gonna need to go through when you're using the micro slow matrix speed strategy, okay? So again, we have 8 strategies here. All these work together, and yeah, that's basically how you're going to want to practice changing chords. And you can see why, you know, it's very difficult for many people to practice this, because these strategies are somewhat unique. You know, they're not really too heard of out there. So you're going to want to practice these things and master chord changes. Now, if you're still struggling to learn how to play guitar, if you're still struggling your chord changes and you want to be able to, you know, reach your goals and play songs that you like and jam with other people and improvise over the whole guitar neck, you should schedule a free introductory guitar lesson. You could probably see the link down below, and I'm going to help you be able to reach your goals as fast as possible. Alright, so I'll talk to you later. This is Mateo, and I hope you enjoyed this video.